Hi BookTube, it's Peg at the History Shelf. Well, I am back. This is what I look like after a round of writing. I guess about 3 hours of writing and trying to form elegant prose. Don't think I was very successful, but sometimes you just have to get the bones down, you know, and then rewrite. So, yeah, a little mentally fatigued. I'm taking a break from the writing, and I thought I would show you the rest of my books that I got. Mostly history, from the book arrivals that I did a few videos ago. And I said I had to break those two up. So let me make sure you can hear me. Great. Okay, so these still have shrink wrap on because why not keep them protected until I can get to them? But I had ordered from, it was about a month ago, and they had on Twitter like a Appreciate University Press Month or something like that. And then they also had a, well, let me see, it was the University of Kansas Press. We're having their own separate celebration, I think, for just how many years they've been doing, you know, books and stuff. I forget the reason, but I wanted to support the university press because I think we would be lost, we would be lost without academic presses and university presses, for those who just want to, you know, learn on their own. And I'm a big fan of being a person that just learns by reading. And you know, I up until the time of Corona, I always thought, you know, hey, if you have a library card, that's all you need, really, to have a fairly well-rounded liberal education. Of course, you know, not counting the mathematics instruction that you would require, or science and lab time and stuff like that. But I figure, you know, for a liberal arts education, all you really need is a library card and the willingness to read in a wide variety of categories. But anyway, having said that, I decided to buy a couple of books from University of Kansas Press. I think they had marked their books down to 19. I think that's what it was. I think the gimmick, as it was the each book was, I think, the year the press started or something. So it was like 1940 something. So normally books that were like 40, 50 bucks were only $19. So anyway, these two books had been on my wish list for a little while, and for the Civil War lover in me, I had to get this. I have been following this book on Twitter and the author for a while, and I'm just going to take the shrink wrap off now, because hopefully I will be starting this at some point in future quarantine lockdown we have. So this is Hampton Newsom, and this is The Fight for the Old North State. The Civil War in North Carolina, January to May of 1864. Again, this book I thought would fill a nice, it would do a lot towards completing my thesis in a way when I wrote my paper on the Overland Campaign of 1864. I'd also like to know what Sherman was doing. Was it in May? Well, maybe not Sherman. He wasn't there yet. But yes, that didn't even happen yet. I don't know what I'm talking about. January of May 1864. Ooh, the type is very small. But the book smells wonderful. Fantastic. Let me just read this to you. Yeah, it wasn't Sherman who was involved in this. It was going to be, we'll find out. On a cold day in early January 1864, Robert E. Lee wrote to Confederate President Jefferson Davis, "The time is at hand when, if an attempt can be made to capture the enemy's forces at New Bern, it should be done." Over the next few months, Lee's dispatch would precipitate a momentous series of events as the Confederates, threatened by a supply crisis and an emerging peace movement, sought to seize federal bases in eastern North Carolina. This book tells the story of these operations, the late war Confederate resurgence in the Old North State. Okay, well, cool. Excellent. So these events were taking place, and they end right around the time that Grant was gearing up um, to head south, to head towards Richmond, and which precipitated the Overland Campaign of 1864. Um, so actually, yeah, because in May was the Battle of Spotsylvania, so that was going on. But prior to that, I think what was happening here had a lot to do with his sense of it was safe to move south and to connect. But anyway, um, let's see. Some of the Union guys here were Benjamin Butler. Sorry, I've got a little bit of plastic. You hate it when it sticks to your hand like that. Um, ooh, John Peck and Charles Flusser. I've never heard of these Union guys. I guess they were naval officers. But yeah, Benjamin Butler is going to be involved in this. So this should be interesting. And I have been wanting this for a while. Be a great addition to my Civil War library, especially my Civil War titles that are from university presses. So happy to have this book. Yay. I'll report back once I start digging into it. Oh, the next book. This seems very, very timely. And I had to have it. So, and it was pretty expensive on Amazon, and but so the actual ordering from the press was better, I think. Plus it was marked down. This is The Lost Soul of the American Presidency. The Decline into Demagoguery and the Prospect for Renewal by Stephen F. Knott. Again, University of Press, Kansas. Ooh, very nice book. Very well put together. It's stitched together beautifully. Ooh, I like to take the jacket off and see what kind of binding we have. It's nice. Okay, sorry, nerding out. Let me just give you a brief synopsis of this. The American presidency is not what it once was, nor Stephen F. Knott contends what it was meant to be. Taking on an issue as timely as Donald Trump's latest tweet and as old as the American Republic, the distinguished presidential scholar documents the devolution of the American presidency from the neutral, unifying office envisioned by the framers of the Constitution into the demagogic, partisan entity of our day. The presidency of popular consent, or the majoritarian presidency that we have today, far predates its current incarnation. The executive office as James Madison, George Washington, and Alexander Hamilton conceived it would be a source of national pride and unity, a check on the tyranny of the majority, and a neutral guarantor of the nation's laws. The Lost Soul of the American Presidency shows how Thomas Jefferson's Revolution of 1800 remade the presidency, paving the way for Andrew Jackson to elevate majority rule into an unofficial constitutional principle, and contributing to the disenfranchisement and worse of African Americans and Native Americans. And Woodrow Wilson Knott finds a worthy successor to Jefferson and Jackson. More than any of his predecessors, Wilson altered the nation's expectations of what a president could be expected to achieve, putting in place the political machinery to support a quote-unquote presidential government. As difficult as it might be to recover the lost soul of the American presidency, Knott reminds us of presidents who resisted pandering to public opinion and appealed to our better angels: George Washington, John Quincy Adams, Abraham Lincoln, and William Howard Taft, among others, whose presidencies suggest an alternative and offer hope for the future of the nation's highest office. Yes, that is a great argument, and that is one I will read with relish. Fabulous. So these two were from the University of Press, Kansas. I was very happy to get those and happy to financially support the university presses. I've noticed a couple of university presses are doing a wonderful thing in that they are opening up their books, their textbooks, online until May 30th, free. I think I noticed Johns Hopkins was doing that, and I think Cambridge University Press. So, I mean, there's a ton of stuff out there. I mean, highly academic and scholarly, but I was able to open up an ebook. Well, I opened it up online in a PDF format. I can't read online for very long, though, so unfortunately it won't really do me any good. My eyes just won't tolerate it. I start to get a headache. And my vision has been getting worse lately. I think I've just been messing around with reader glasses and everything else for too long, and I need an eye exam. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, they've been opening up some of their stuff online for free until May 30th to help out faculty and students who are transitioning to online learning now in a very, very major way, in a very fast way. So, what else do we have here? Let's see. Oh, yes. Now, this is this is also from the University of Kansas Press. This is a very niche book, okay? As you know, I am a nerd when it comes to, and obsessive about my Russian history, and my military history. Well, this book kind of combines the two, and I am very excited to have this. This is very specialized, so not many of you might be interested in this. But anyway, I had my eye on this for a little bit. This is the Imperial Russian Army in Peace, War, and Revolution, 1856 to 1917, by Roger E. Rees. Again, University of Press, Kansas. This came out very recently, last year, 2019. Good stuff in here. Let me give you a synopsis. In December 1917, 9 months after the disintegration of the Russian monarchy, the Army Officer Corps, one of the dynasty's prime pillars, finally fell. A collapse that, in light of World War I and the Bolshevik Revolution, historians often treat as inevitable. The Imperial Russian Army in Peace, War, and Revolution, 1856 to 1917, contests this assumption. By expanding our view of the Imperial Russian Army to include the experience of the enlisted ranks, Roger Rees reveals that the soldiers' revolt in 1917 was more social revolution than anti-war movement, a revolution based on social distinctions within the officer corps as well as between the ranks. Rees's account begins in the aftermath of the Crimean War, when the emancipation of the serfs and consequent introduction of universal military service altered the composition of the officer corps as well as the relationship between officers and soldiers. More catalyst than cause, World War I exacerbated a pervasive discontent among soldiers at their ill treatment by officers, a condition that reached all the way back to the founding of the Russian army by Peter I. It was the officers' refusal to change their behavior toward the soldiers and each other over a 50-year period, Rees argues, capped by their attack on the provisional government in 1917, that fatally weakened the officer corps in advance of the Bolshevik seizure of power. How fascinating is that? That's a fascinating argument. I love this. As he details the evolution of the Imperial Russian Army over that period, Rees explains its concrete workings, from the conscription and discipline of soldiers to the recruitment and education of officers to the operation of unit economies, honor courts, and wartime reserves. Marshalling newly available materials, his book corrects distortions in both Soviet and Western views of the events of 1917 and adds welcome nuance and depth to our understanding of a critical turning point in Russian history. Fabulous, you guys. I am excited. Because I just wanted to read you this real quick to tell you who the author is, what his credentials here are. Roger Rees is professor of history at Texas A&M University, and he has written many books, which include Why Stalin's Soldiers Fought, The Red Army's Military Effectiveness in World War II, Stalin's Reluctant Soldiers, A Social History of the Red Army, and Red Commanders, A Social History of the Soviet Army Officer Corps. And these are all from the University of Kansas Press. And frankly, just reading those other books that he's written, I'm very interested in those other ones as well. But I like starting here. This is a good place to start, and then we can move off into the next century, or into Stalin's reign. But what a fascinating argument. That it wasn't inevitable. He's saying it was a social revolution, and it was the discontent between the classes. Yep. Awesome stuff, Kansas Press, University of Kansas Press. Thank you. I'm going to check out these other books by Roger Rees when I'm done with this video. The history shelf, it continues to grow apace, my friends. The shelves just keep filling up. At some point I have to stop. I've got to make room somehow. Okay. That is a dilemma I will save for another day. I've got enough to deal with right now. Don't we all? All right. Ugh. Okay, so some of these other books are small little purchases, kind of purchased new or used. This is funny. Just to show you, my voice is getting a little crackly. You guys mind if I get some seltzer water for a second? This is bubbly orange. It's delicious. Thank you. I was very parched. So on YouTube, when I'm done watching booktube videos and I don't want to watch anything on TV or cable or Netflix, and I want documentaries, and sometimes I just can't even find documentaries on cable so I will look up obscure stuff on YouTube. And I found a documentary from, I think the BBC had done it. The quality of the video is horrible because it was like from early 1980s, but it documented the uprising at a prison uprising or takeover in New Mexico, and I'm blanking on the name of that prison. But I mean, you Google New Mexico prison riot 1980 something or 1980, it comes right up. So, and they had interviewed some of the inmates who had been there and who had survived it. But it was utterly horrific, and there was a few books on it out there. I don't know if I have the stomach yet to read those, so I haven't really gotten a book on it. But it was interesting me in the fact of prison reform. Sometimes I'll go off on these little tangents, you know. A documentary can do that for me, but you know, it was overcrowded, and there was just people. I mean, people were not being treated as just even human beings, and so I mean, there was a lot of pent-up anger and rage, and I guess the riot was precipitated by, like, they planned on rioting, and you know, they were making their own hooch, and I guess the whole wing just got completely wasted and decided to overpower the guards and break down through the control room glass, and then everything was hell after that, and a lot of horrific things happened. But I was interested in just the history of prisons, you know, in the country, and or in Western society, actually. So I was just Googling, and I've been collecting Oxford history books, like the Oxford History of. I think, you know, I've got a few Oxford Illustrated histories of, but this one I picked up used on, I think it was Amazon. It's in great condition. I think I got it for like $10, but this is the Oxford History of the Prison, the Practice of Punishment in Western Society, edited by Norval Morris and David Rothman. So this is just something to add to my resources. It's a book of essays. You know, they got the body and the state, prison before the prison, the failure of reform. I just think it's interesting. You know, I like to learn about a lot of different things, and just the history of how we practice punishment, and where we started and where we are now, and what work we still need to do. So, so this one I picked up. I thought it might be interesting. This book I also picked up used, not as in good condition, but it's all right. I'll probably pass it along after I read it. But I wanted to know more about, trying to remember what triggered my interest in this one, but this is Neil Hansen's The Dreadful Judgment. This is the true story of the Great Fire of London. This is 1665, I believe, was the fire. Or 1666. I'm sorry about that. The Dreadful Judgment is a historical detective story, combining modern knowledge of the physics of fire, forensics, and fire and arson investigation with moving eyewitness accounts contained in contemporary documents, private papers, and personal letters to produce a searing depiction of the Great Fire of London and the human stories of those who lived through it and those who did not. I think I think what might have precipitated this was the book on the Dresden um, the Dresden bombing that I showed recently. um, is it Fire and Fury? No, it could be another book. There's so many. Woo! But I think I was intrigued by, like, how this conflagration started, why it couldn't have been stopped, and the lack of fire prevention, or was the city built mostly of wood in the 1660s? I don't know. This is something I haven't really read about before, the Great Fire of London. I really don't know much about it, and I'd like to know. I'd like to fill in that gap in my knowledge. So let me know, if any of you have read this, or if there's another book on the Great Fire of London that you think is more of a classic, or is more, or maybe this is one. I don't know. I was just Googling around and looking on Amazon trying to figure out what is the go-to book on the Great Fire of London. So, my fellow readers out there, I'm asking for your help. Let me know if there's another book out there I should also take a look at. And, oh yeah, so this book, I was watching Leaf by Leaf, Chris at Leaf by Leaf. He's got great videos, and I think he had a video recently. Well, he did. He had a video on philosophy, like why read philosophy. And then he made a bunch of different recommendations, and then talked about books he has read that he enjoys. And he named one, and it just looked like something that I would be able to read and comprehend. So I was really intrigued by it. So I ordered this used off Thrift Books, I think. And this is Plato at the Googleplex, Why Philosophy Won't Go Away, by Rebecca Neuberger Goldstein. So Leaf by Leaf, Chris at Leaf by Leaf had showed this book. And I'm intrigued by this. It kind of, this is a long description to read, but let me just say, I'll start with, is philosophy obsolete, is the question here. Are the ancient questions still relevant in the age of cosmology and neuroscience, not to mention crowdsourcing and cable news? The acclaimed philosopher and novelist Rebecca Neuberger Goldstein provides a dazzlingly original plunge into the drama of philosophy, revealing its hidden role in today's debates on religion, morality, politics, and science. So I think that's interesting. She kind of marries the ancient with the modern. Yeah, she's got, oh, look at the chapter. The chapters are not numbers, they're like parts of the Greek alphabet. You see that? And we got man walks into a seminar room, Plato at the Googleplex, in the shadow of the Acropolis, Plato on cable news, Socrates must die. This looks like this will be a really good read. My other dilemma, I don't know what to do, so please let me know what you think. So this is the dust jacket, right? It's fine, but I took it off, and I'm very tempted to maybe even recycle this dust jacket. This is the naked dust jacket right here. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I know you can barely read, but it obviously is a play on like a statue engraving, It's got that marble look. I don't know. I kind of might just leave it like that. I kind of like that. So, Plato at the Googleplex, guys. Let me know if you think I should ditch the dust jacket. Haven't decided. Oh, and here's the author. Hang on a second. I'll get this right. I'll get it right. Ready? All right. All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. I promised to show you this the other, well, I didn't promise, but I said I had gotten one as a gift from my brother-in-law, and I guess it was in the second stack to show you, but right as the coronavirus was ramping up and they were saying, everyone, keep at a safe distance, whatever it was, I don't know. Martine was resting, and they were coming by, and he wanted to give me something, and I was like, well, she's resting, so he's like, well, I can leave it out on your front bench. Well, I heard him come to the door, and I just kind of peeked out the window about the front bench. I'm like, hi, what do you got? So he knows I'm a Civil War nut, right? And he found this book at it's like a book, like a flea market. There was like a book stall that were selling books, and True Crime in the Civil War, Cases of Murder, Treason, Counterfeiting, Massacre, Plunder, and Abuse. It's a good time read right now, by Tobin Book. And I was like, well, hello. That's kind of interesting. Sam Upham, Counterfeiting Scheme of 1862. We've got lots of pictures and stuff in here. Oh, wow. Some of these I'd never heard of. And I kind of know a lot about the weird, I almost said a bad word, the weird stuff that happened in the Civil War. I know a lot about it, but, oh yeah, I know this one though. Benjamin Butler, Beast of New Orleans, 1862. Basically said if Southern women were walking around past curfew, they would be considered ladies of the night and treated so, or something like that. I was just like, what a SOB, but that's kind of funny too. 'Cause you know, all those ladies in the South were having the vapors after that. Wow, that son of a gun. They didn't say that. I don't know. Please don't mind me. I am going stir crazy. So if I'm being more ridiculous than usual, please forgive me. I think this is Lawrence. Is this the Sack of Lawrence? Okay, I'm pretty sure it is because I know that artwork. Well, okay, yeah, this one this one is the Sack of Lawrence. Kansas, sorry, Kansas, I should have said that was Bleeding Kansas. So that was going on. Oh yeah, so this will be a good one. The trial, oh God, you guys, I can't get that right. The trial of the Lincoln assassination, conspirators. Kind of neat. So the things that they cover, I guess that crime was rampant during the Civil War, both in the North and South. This investigation of the more inglorious aspects of the conflict features the murder of General Earl Van Dorn. I do faintly recall that. The bloody draft riot in Detroit. And I'm from Detroit. Now, I remember there was the New York draft riots. That was extremely bloody and race-driven. And then we have Sam Upham's currency counterfeiting scheme, the tyranny of General Butler, violent raids by William Quantrill and Bloody Bill Anderson. That would be the Lawrence, Kansas bloodbath. And we have the devastating Fort Pillow massacre, that was when a regiment or a battalion, it could have been a division of black troops. I forget who was holding Fort Pillow, but there were black African American Union troops, and Confederate General Nathan Bedford Forrest and his men overtook the fort, and rather than take the men prisoner, which is by rules of war, you take men prisoner, they murdered them. They were enraged to see black men wearing a uniform and fighting them with guns. So that was horrific. Just horrific. Okay, so then we have the rebel plot to burn New York City. Horrific prison conditions at Andersonville. Yeah, that was bad news. That was very bad. And then the fate of the Lincoln Assassination conspirators. So some pretty cool little stories, essays on some bleak times in the Civil War. I'm sensing a theme in a lot of the things I read. What is going on here? I need to read about maybe, kittens and lollipops and rainbows, but that's just not me. I don't know. Okay. So this last book I got because in preparation for my eventual purchase from Liberty Fund, I know you've heard me talk about them a lot, I will be purchasing the David Hume History of England. And I think I'm going to get hardcover. And it's like a 6 or 7 volume set. And Andrew B., at his channel, Andrew B., of the same name, I believe he has those books. And he was showing them off in one of his videos. And then he suggested, and I think he was talking to me, because he says you might also want to buy this get this little book as a companion to it, which is David Hume, the Philosopher as Historian by Nicholas Phillipson. So I sure enough went out and got it. I was able to find a used copy that is almost brand new. It's not really available new right now for a decent price. This thing is beautiful. Clean pages. no remainder mark. And it just gives an overview of who David Hume was, and especially his work as a historian. So I would like to read this before I actually dig into his work. So um, I'm deciding when to make that purchase from Liberty Fund. I probably should do it before the world ends, right? While they still might be able to ship books out. Yeah, I might need to do that soon. I was gonna get the Hume set. I was also gonna get the Adam Smith set. There's a lot I want to get. There is a Lord Acton, the collected essays or writings of Lord Acton that I want to get. But this will be a nice companion to the Andrew. See Andrew Hume. Do you like that? I've just upgraded you, sir. You are Andrew Hume. This will be a great companion to the David Hume set that Andrew B. talked about. So these were some of the other books that I got. Hang on, they're all falling on the floor. And I got a couple more. Oh God, they just came in the mail. You guys are gonna probably be like, "What is wrong with this woman?" I don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you. This is a 31-minute video. I hope you don't mind. But hey, we're all kind of locked inside anyway. Naval Institute Press. Fabulous books. I want to start on this very soon. They just sent this to me, and I was so excited. I didn't even know this was coming out. I'd never even heard of this before. But it sounds like a very intriguing study. And this is called On Obedience, Contrasting Philosophies for the Military, Citizenry, and Community by Pauline Shanks Corin. It's definitely a scholarly work, an academic work, I should say. This volume is designed to be an in-depth and nuanced philosophy of the virtues of obedience in the context of the professional military and the broader civilian and political communities, including the general citizenry. Dr. Pauline Shanks Corin seeks to address the following questions. What is obedience? Is it a virtue? And if it is, why? What are the moral grounds of obedience? Why ought military members and citizens be obedient? Are there times that one should not be obedient? Why? How should we think about obedience in contemporary political communities? And it talks about the arguments that she's going to be drawing on from materials from a variety of disciplines: classical studies, philosophy, history, international relations, literature, and military studies. And then she has examples to illustrate the conceptual points. So this is going to be a book that I will have my notebook with me. I will not be underlining in this book, but I will be making copious notes. This is going to be a nice, meaty read. So thank you, Naval Institute Press. I look forward to reading this and sharing my thoughts on this. Okay, guys. Well, that's it for now. I did make another purchase. Again, I think it was a retail therapy moment where I was just looking at books on Book Outlet and also my other favorite site, which is Hamilton Book. And I finished reading a book recently on George Orwell. Wow, did you hear that? See, I think that is the faucet upstairs. Fabulous. And it kind of got me interested in reading other books about Orwell or kind of connected to him, dystopian literature, and I don't know, I just kind of spun out from there, and I ended up buying some really cool books from Hamilton Book and Book Outlet. So I've got at least 2 more packages coming, and then after that, I should be done. I should be. I can't say for sure. But anyway, guys, all right, so it's my last video for the day, maybe the weekend, I don't know, but I need to go read now and unwind. So you guys have a great night. I can't even remember what day. It's Saturday. Okay. See, when you're locked in the house, sometimes the days just all run into one another. You know? Do you guys feel that way? There's some days I wake up, I'm like, what? I don't even know. Like what? I don't even know what my eye color is. I mean, like, who am I? I mean, what is my middle name? What year is it? But we'll get through this. We'll get through this together, and we'll just I feel bad for you, those of you who are just too upset to read. You know, I saw Steve's video about that, and luckily I don't have that problem yet. I'm finding that I want to nap a lot, you know, or not nap a lot, but it is hard for me to wake up in the morning. So maybe it's just my body saying, like, I don't want to face the world, the news, you know, but once I get up and then I get showered and get going, then I wake up. And especially when I'm writing, that really gets my brain kicked into high gear. And then when I stop writing, then I like, woo! So I hope to, you know, grab something to eat here and get comfy, and then try just reading and just seeing where that takes me and takes me out of my headspace, you know. So I hope you guys can do that too. Let me know how you're handling all this. I'd like to know, as Steve was asking, I'd like to know how, you know, you're dealing with your ability to read, and are you getting a lot more read or a lot less read? Um, you know, that's interesting how stress affects people when it comes to reading habits. So, and anxiety, stress and anxiety. Okay, so this is a 36-minute video. I don't know how many of you are left. Probably not many. Probably no one. I'm a lone voice in the wilderness, my friends. All right, so I'll be back soon. I just love talking to you guys, as you can tell. I just feel like you're right here with me. So we'll talk soon. Have a great night. Be safe. Be healthy. Thank you to all of the subscribers, all the new subscribers. I hope you're enjoying this channel. And I hope to continue to keep bringing you good books, good history, and hopefully some laughs along the way. So take care, guys. We'll talk soon. Bye.